A Jordanian pilot, a Muslim, burned to death by fellow Muslims. Who was right? Who was wrong? According to their own religion. And why is it that the Obama administration has suddenly decided they will not put the word Muslim and terrorist in the same sentence?
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Hello, friend. Number one, I'm not feeling well. This flu, whatever it is, has been roaring through our home as well as many of the homes of our viewers and staff here. And also, we're in the middle still of finishing our studio. We're a lot closer. This will ultimately be my backdrop where our bookshelves and a lot of different knickknacks, items, icons, things that I've collected all over the world that will be there. We're really excited to be broadcasting here, and the echo you hear will also be dealt with. Anyway, if I'm not up to speed today, it's because I don't feel well. As you know, the members of ISIS, Islamic State, devout Muslims, have burned to death a Jordanian pilot. Now, I'm going to give you some background, some historical and theological background regarding Muhammad and putting fellow Muslims to death. And I'm also going to explain my theory as to why President Obama has suddenly determined that he and no one on his immediate staff or spokesman are allowed to say the words Islamic terrorist or Muslim terrorists anymore, all right? First, let's deal with the history of Muhammad. There was some, here's what he said about a Muslim who leaves his faith. No doubt I heard Allah's apostles saying, that's Muhammad, during the last days there will appear some young foolish people who will say the best words, but their faith will not go beyond their throats, i.e. they will have no faith, and will go out from their religion as an arrow passes out of the game. So wherever you find them, kill them. For whoever kills them shall have reward on the day of resurrection. All right, this is Muhammad saying, if a person professes to be a Muslim, Muhammad said if a person changes their religion, once they become a Muslim, they go back to being whatever it was, or they go to something else, they are to be killed, all right? We're going to have another hadith in a minute that says that. But I want you to note something that's really critical in Islamic theology. There's a word called jahiliyyah, which means confusion, a state of confusion. And in Muslim theology, this was the state of the world prior to Muhammad coming. It was in a state of confusion, religious confusion. And God allegedly sent Muhammad to be the last prophet, the seal of the prophets, who would correct the errors of time. All right? The Jews had the Moses law, but the rabbis tinkered with it, and the Gospels were given to Christ, but monks and priests altered it. And Muhammad came to set the record straight for all of them and to give the true meaning of God and the true means by which he is to be worshipped, served, and obeyed. So, prior to his coming, it's called jahiliyyah. It's a state of confusion. But during the Islamic age, there were rulers who swept through the Muslim lands and then converted to Islam, but still used the law code of their pagan ancestors rather than adopt Sharia law. And so Muslim theologians said, you cannot separate Muhammad and Islamic theology from Sharia law. And if you refuse to obey Sharia law, you're a false Muslim. And they also went on to say that if they helped false Muslims, if a professing Muslim helped false Muslims, in other words, if they helped sustain a law code other than Sharia law, then they were traitors to Islam, and it was legitimate to kill them. Now, this is very important because men like Said Qutb, there are modern day, in the last century, Islamic theologians who helped give birth to the Muslim Brotherhood and who were part of the Muslim Brotherhood, who laid out this lengthy theological undergirding, drawing from Muhammad's words, that basically said this, that the Muslim leaders, whether of Egypt or any other nation, who did not embrace Sharia law and try to restore the caliphate, the one ruler and one people to bring back the Muslim empire, any Muslim leader who did not embrace Sharia law and to return to there being one Muslim nation was a false Muslim. They were a traitor, and it was legitimate to kill them, to overthrow them. So Anwar Sadat, the leader of Egypt, who cut the deal with Menachem Begin, the leader of Israel, he was assassinated by members of the Muslim Brotherhood. And they had a theological reason for doing so, because Sadat was not ruling Egypt according to Sharia law, and he had just cut a deal with the Jews. And so they killed him. Because Muhammad said, anyone who changes his religion or who helps infidels against true Muslims, kill him. And that's what they did. And so in the mind of the Islamic State terrorists, the devout Muslims, they know all this theology. They know this history. And they looked at a Jordanian pilot who says, I'm a Muslim. And they said, no, you're helping to sustain the king of Jordan. He doesn't want Sharia law. You're trying to kill true Muslims who are trying to restore Sharia law, who are trying to restore the caliph, the one leader. You're trying to kill us, and we're the most devout, faithful followers of Muhammad. Therefore, you are a traitor. Therefore, God commands us to kill you. That's what they're thinking. But I guarantee you right now there is a debate going on even among terrorists because he was burned to death. I'll tell you about that when we come back.
You have two choices. I mean, you can try to raise your children by design, or you will raise them by default. There are no perfect parents. We're going to get it wrong sometimes. If we have a plan, we've got a better chance of getting it right in the long run.
There is something deep within the heart of every human being that longs for parental acceptance and approval. When does a boy become a man?
Get a group of guys around and ask them that question.
I don't think there's a certain age. Some men stay boys their whole life.
I would say, 16, 18 years old.
Wow, that's a good question.
When they get bar mitzvah.
Well, I think when he has a child. So I just became at 56, 56 years old.
Without the power of the Holy Spirit changing us and giving us power over our sin, we can't hope to be the dads that our kids need us to be.
We have put together what we call an online university for you. Now that's a highfalutin way of saying that we have a pretty significant library of material, books, tapes, videos that are there for you for free. Why are we doing this? Because America is desperate for new leaders, and because this material could help you to become the leader that you and God want you to be. Check it out and enjoy it. I want to thank the Walk TV, our network that carries us, as well as our affiliates all over the country, for having the courage and the integrity to carry this program. You must know by now that there are many media outlets, including the New York Times and some of the major cable and big networks like ABC, CBS, NBC, that refuse to carry certain true elements of Islam for fear, or because of corruption, or because of something. So I want to thank the people that are involved in helping us get this show out to over 100 stations around the country. I am blessed to be able to deliver this to you, and you are blessed to be able to learn things that you're probably not able to learn on too many other television shows in the entire country. Now, Muhammad said if someone changes their religion, kill them. At one point, there were some people in Arabia who had defected. They had become Muslims, and then they reverted back after Muhammad's death. And let me read to you what happened and what they said about the burning. Some Zanadika were brought to Ali, and he burned them to death. The news of this event reached Ibn Abbas, who said, "If I had been in his place, I would not have burnt them, as Allah's apostle forbade it, saying, 'Do not punish anybody with Allah's punishment, fire.'" And then he said, "I would have killed them, according to the statement of Allah's apostle, 'Whoever changed his Islamic religion, then kill him.'" So there was a point after Muhammad died when most of the Arabian Peninsula went back to their other religions. They apostatized. Abu Bakr, the first caliph, the first successor after Muhammad, basically took off on another war path, literal, and said, either you come back to Islam as you said you would originally, or I'll kill you. And they all had a second conversion, all right? They saw the light. And thus, the Arabian Peninsula was saved for Islam. Well, some of the people were killed because they changed their religion and they wouldn't come back. And they were burned by fire. They were burned alive. And so when the news was brought back to Ibn Abbas, he said, "I would not have burnt them. Because I heard Muhammad say, don't burn anybody. Don't punish them with God's punishment, hellfire. Kill them, yes, but don't burn them to death." So I guarantee you right now, inside of the Islamic world, there is a debate going on. They sat around and they debated. The terrorists who burnt this man to death debated this exact point of history and theology. And there are going to be imams and there are going to be mullahs who condemn what they did. You listen closely, all right? I wish I could speak Arabic fluently and could translate it accurately. But there are going to be editorials coming out that quote the words of Muhammad, "Don't burn apostates. Kill them, yes. Don't burn them." And remember, an apostate can be defined as somebody who helps the enemies of Islam. And inherent to Islam is what? Sharia law, right? And a caliphate. That means the office. Like we have a president, all right? The caliph is a successor. He's the chief executive of the Islamic world. He's the political leader, he is the military leader, and he is the religious leader, all bound up in one, all right? The caliph, that's a caliph. It's the word successor. So if you oppose a successor, having one, which Muhammad wanted, and if you oppose Sharia law, which Muhammad wanted, based upon Muhammad's life and on his traditions, then you are an active apostate, even if you say you are a Muslim. Are you following me? That's the way it works. When we come back, we'll discuss why Obama is treating terrorists who are Muslim like they're not really Muslim. That's just weird.
Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today.
By the way, did you notice that when the king of Saudi Arabia died, Michelle went over there for the funeral and refused to wear a headdress? Obama bowed before him. And Michelle says, I'm not wearing a headdress. I don't care what their traditions are. I don't care what their laws are. I'm not doing it. Is there a little marriage tension going on? I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, the Obama administration has made this sudden about face, made it a policy, we'll see how long it lasts, that they will not say the words Muslim terrorist or Islamic terrorism. They're just going to say that they're terrorists. Been a lot of questions asked, and their answers are pathetic. Why are they doing this? I believe that it's sinister, but let me give you some options. One option is that when the Muslim Brotherhood representative met with them recently, according to various news reports, they might have said to him, look, if you'll stop calling them Muslim terrorists, it'll be easier for us to condemn them, and it'll be easier for other Islamic nations to side with you in the battle against them. Because if they are Muslims, we are not allowed to fight them. A devout Muslim knows that he is not allowed to fight other devout Muslims. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that the king of Jordan or the leadership of Saudi Arabia got to Obama's people and said, look, stop calling them Muslims. Because the more you say Muslim terrorist or Islamic terrorist, the more people around the world dislike Islam, dislike Muslims. And we're afraid of a backlash, and it would hurt innocent Muslims, and it'll hurt our relationship with you. I mean, if you really want us to help you fight these people, then stop calling them Muslim terrorists or Islamic terrorists. And so the leader of Jordan, the king of Jordan, said that this pilot died defending his religion. In other words, he was a moderate Muslim who died by saying, I won't participate in establishing Sharia law. I won't participate in trying to restore the caliph. So whether it's to appease our so-called political allies who are enemies of freedom, the leaders of Saudi Arabia, really, these are enemies of justice and righteousness, or whether it's to appease the Muslim Brotherhood, or whether it's some do-gooder inside of the Obama administration who's saying, look, 99% of all Muslims are peaceful, law-abiding people. Why paint them with the same brush by using the word Muslim or Islam, which is similar to what Obama said, remember? He said 99% of Muslims are good, law-abiding people. Well, I want to just pause for a second. Do you remember the size of the demonstrations in Pakistan when the cartoon crisis erupted the first time around? Do you remember? Throngs of people calling for the death of the cartoonists. This wasn't 1%. These were massive amounts of entire nations. And remember the PhD study that was done on the Palestinians who were asked the question whether the bombing of the Dolphinarium, which was a Jewish discotheque in which a lot of young Jewish boys and girls were killed, they were asked, is this an act of terror? And they said no. Didn't matter what age they were, didn't matter what their education was, didn't matter how much money they made. Didn't matter what their gender was. They said, over 80% of them said, no, it's not an act of terror. In other words, they thought it was an act of justice, an act of freedom fighting, not an act of terror. So the idea that 1% of Muslims have hijacked their religion and 99% of them don't agree is ludicrous. It's ludicrous based upon the study of the bombing at the Dolphinarium. It's ludicrous based upon baying for cartoonist blood from Pakistan. It's ludicrous when you look at the leadership and Wahhabism of Saudi Arabia. It's ludicrous when you look at the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and how many Muslims there voted in a government that wanted Sharia law, all right, which calls for the killing of people who proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord publicly and that Muhammad is a false prophet. It's ludicrous to say that 99% of Muslims are peaceful, peace-loving people. Ludicrous, Mr. Obama.
I have been a leader in the pro-life movement for 30 years. And sadly, we have not prevailed in our goal to make it a criminal act to kill an unborn baby. There's reasons why we have failed. I wrote this book, A Humble Plea, to Catholic bishops, to evangelical clergy, and to lay people, explaining where we went wrong and what we have to do to prevail. We've made this available as a PDF online for free. I encourage you to go and download your own copy. Why does a nice guy like me keep getting thrown in jail? I have been arrested almost 50 times and spent over a year of my life locked up in various prison facilities. And I wrote a book, many books. In fact, one of them is called Why Does a Nice Guy Like Me Keep Getting Thrown in Jail? It's a theological work, answering those who say that the church should not be involved in politics or that we should retreat. I encourage you to get it. In fact, get one and give it to your pastor.
We got this letter a couple days ago. Mr. Terry and staff, I like your show and watch it regularly. I watch it on KDGL. That's in Dodge City, Kansas, by the way. Keep up the good work. I hope this donation helps with the studio project. Looking forward to watching you in the new completed studio. And then sign his name and sent a $500 check. Thank you, sir. A couple weeks ago, a couple from Cheyenne, Wyoming sent us $1,000. Thank you, folks. You know who you are. We spoke on the phone. If you can help us, if you're a regular viewer of this show, we are supported completely by the viewers like you. I do not take a salary from this show. Just don't. We do this as a labor of love. We do this to reach people with the truth. And as you may have noticed, the content of today's program can be found in very few other places in the whole country, on any network. I'm asking you, if you believe in what you are seeing, to help us. For the next few days, we've got to raise money to finish this studio. And some of the expenses are on the technology side. We're almost done with the interior. And we brought a lot of stuff from West Virginia when we had to tear down our studio there to come here so that our son could be treated with cancer, or for cancer rather. And I beg you to keep praying for him. This is the hand that was dealt to us. This is what, in the providence and the goodness of God, we have had to deal with, fighting to save our son's life, but also continuing doing our daily television show and leasing this facility so that we can have a show that reaches across the nation. And it's growing. But to bring a top-notch show requires top-notch tools. Okay? It requires top-notch television. Our old computer that has been used to edit this show is 7 years old. It's a Macintosh product, and it has some great software that is now becoming outdated and it's starting to bog down. It won't work because the technology keeps changing. But we got 7 years out of it. It cost us $6,000 when we bought it, and we got 7 years out of it without any breakdowns. Well, now we're at a place where we need another one. And the cost of the new replacement Mac is $6,799. They've gone up about $800. But oh my goodness, the power, the speed that these new computers have will last us for at least another 7 years or more. But we need to pony up the money to buy it. And just between me and you, we don't have it. So if you are blessed by this program and you can help us, please go to the website and contribute online. Or if you want to write a check and send it, as our friends from Dodge City did, here's the address. If you want to call and talk to me personally, I will return your call. Call the number that you see on your screen and say, Randall, I would like to give a $500 or $1,000 contribution. Or maybe you could buy the whole computer. I know that there are people watching right now that could buy the entire Mac computer that we need. And some of people are saying, well, why don't you use a PC? Macs are so expensive. Because almost the entire audiovisual world is built on Macs because of their speed and because they don't break down and because they don't get bugs. So again, this is the hand that's dealt to us. If we want to do a top-notch show, we have to use the right equipment, and this is the computer we need, and we need to raise the money to get it. If you can help us, please do. My promise to you is to keep bringing you hard-hitting TV programs that proclaim the truth without equivocation. God bless you.